In the heart of the ancient world, where empires clashed and destinies collided, two figures emerged who would change the course of history forever. She was Cleopatra XII, the last great pharaoh of Egypt, a queen of intelligence, charisma, and relentless ambition. He was Julius Caesar, the most powerful general Rome had ever seen, a man whose name alone inspired loyalty and fear. Their meeting was not by chance, but by fate, a convergence of power, love, and strategy that set the stage for one of the greatest political alliances the world has ever known. Behind whispered promises and stolen glances lay ruthless schemes, secret betrayals, and a war that would decide the fate of nations. This is the untold story of Cleopatra and Caesar, a saga of passion and power that reshaped the ancient world forever. Chapter 1. Egypt at the Crossroads. Egypt, the jewel of the Nile, was a land of immeasurable wealth but fragile power. By the mid-1st century BCE, its glorious dynasties had faded, replaced by a kingdom struggling under internal divisions and foreign influence. The Ptolemaic dynasty, descendants of Alexander the Great's generals, ruled Egypt, but their authority was weakening. The Roman Republic, powerful and ever-expanding, kept a close watch, seeing Egypt's grain and gold as keys to sustaining Rome's dominance. Cleopatra XII, the youngest daughter of Ptolemy XII, was thrust into this volatile world at a time when her kingdom teetered on the edge of collapse. At 18, she inherited the throne alongside her younger brother Ptolemy XIII, but their rule was anything but harmonious. Behind palace walls, courtiers whispered, factions schemed, and Roman envoys meddled in Egyptian affairs. Cleopatra understood early that survival required more than royal blood. It demanded cunning, diplomacy, and unshakable resolve. For Cleopatra, the stakes were higher than the Nile's flooding in Egypt's harvests. Her throne was slipping from her grasp, threatened by her brother's regents and Rome's increasing demands. The queen faced a choice: submit to foreign influence or find a way to wield it for her own advantage. Unbeknownst to her, destiny was already sending an unlikely ally toward the shores of Alexandria, Julius Caesar, the man whose legions could determine the fate of nations. Chapter 2. Caesar arrives in Alexandria in 48 BCE. Julius Caesar stepped into the marble streets of Alexandria, fresh from defeating his rival Pompey at Pharsalus. The Roman Republic was locked in civil war, and Caesar's pursuit of Pompey led him to Egypt's doorstep. But when he arrived, Caesar was met with a shocking revelation. Ptolemy XIII had executed Pompey, presenting his severed head as a gift. The act was meant to earn Caesar's favor, but instead enraged him. Cleopatra saw Caesar's anger as an opportunity. Banished from Alexandria by her brother's regents, she needed Caesar's power to reclaim her throne. According to legend, she devised a daring plan to sneak into Caesar's chambers, rolled inside a carpet. When the fabric was unfurled before the Roman general, Cleopatra stood before him, her intelligence as disarming as her beauty. It was a calculated gamble, and Caesar, intrigued by her audacity, became her unexpected ally. This meeting would mark the beginning of an alliance that would change the course of history. For Caesar, Egypt's wealth and strategic location were invaluable. For Cleopatra, Caesar's legions represented her only chance to defeat her brother's forces. But neither could foresee that their union would ignite war, scandal, and a transformation of empires. Chapter 3. A deal forged in power. Cleopatra's charm was undeniable, but her real strength lay in her understanding of politics. In Caesar, she saw more than a lover. She saw a weapon. Egypt's throne was slipping away, and she needed his legions to reclaim it. Caesar, too, had much to gain. Rome's survival depended on Egypt's grain, and by supporting Cleopatra, he could secure Rome's food supply and strengthen his position back home. Together, they forged a secret pact. Caesar would back Cleopatra's claim to the throne, providing her with military support against Ptolemy XIII and his regents. In return, Cleopatra promised loyalty to Rome and a steady stream of Egypt's wealth. It was a marriage of strategy, where personal attraction blended seamlessly with political ambition. But the arrangement was fraught with danger. The Alexandrian court seethed with resentment, and whispers of Cleopatra's influence over Caesar spread through the city. As tensions mounted, civil war loomed, a conflict that would pit brother against sister, Egyptian against Roman, and change the balance of power in the ancient world. Chapter 4. The Alexandrian War begins. The streets of Alexandria became a battlefield as Ptolemy XIII's forces clashed with Caesar's legions. Cleopatra stood beside Caesar, directing her allies and maneuvering through the chaos with unflinching resolve. Fires consumed temples, palaces trembled, and the once great city echoed with the clash of steel and the cries of the dying. Caesar, though outnumbered, fought with the discipline of Rome's finest. His legions, hardened by years of conquest, held their ground against overwhelming odds. Cleopatra leveraged her influence to rally Egyptian factions to Caesar's cause, turning the tide in their favor. For months, the war raged, a brutal testament to ambition and survival. In the end, Ptolemy XIII's army was crushed, and the young king drowned in the Nile while attempting to flee. Cleopatra reclaimed her throne, now ruling Egypt alongside her youngest brother, Ptolemy XIV, as Rome's chosen ally. But victory came at a price. Egypt's independence was bound to Caesar, and whispers of scandal followed them both. Chapter 5. The Queen and the General. With the war behind them, Cleopatra and Caesar's relationship deepened. They sailed the Nile together, presenting themselves as living gods, Cleopatra as Isis reborn, Caesar as a divine conqueror. For Egypt, this was more than romance. It was a symbol of restored power and divine favor. But back in Rome, scandal brewed. Caesar's enemies seized upon his association with Cleopatra, portraying her as a manipulative seductress, ensnaring the Roman leader. Statues of Cleopatra were erected in Caesar's temple, stoking fears that he planned to make himself king and place Egypt above Rome. The Senate grew restless, and resentment turned to plotting. For Cleopatra, love and power were inseparable, but she underestimated the political storm she had unleashed. The alliance that saved her throne was now threatening to topple Caesar's own. Chapter 6. Cleopatra in Rome. In 46 BCE, Cleopatra traveled to Rome with Caesarion, her son, by Caesar, sparking outrage among Roman elites. Her arrival was a calculated move to strengthen her position and secure recognition for her child as Caesar's heir. Caesar welcomed her, granting her residence near his villa and bestowing honors rarely given to foreign monarchs. Yet her presence was a lightning rod for controversy. The Roman Senate feared Caesar was abandoning the republic's traditions, replacing them with monarchy under Egyptian influence. Senators whispered of tyranny, while the people of Rome gossiped about Cleopatra's hold over their leader. Cleopatra reveled in her newfound status, but walked a perilous line. Every step she took in Rome deepened the divide between Caesar and his enemies. planting the seeds of betrayal and bloodshed. Chapter 7: The Ides of March. March 15th, 44 BCE. The Ides of March would forever change the ancient world. Julius Caesar, at the height of his power, entered the Senate, unaware that his closest allies had conspired against him. Surrounded by knives, he fell beneath the blades of men he once called friends. For Cleopatra, the news was devastating. Her greatest ally and protector was gone, leaving her vulnerable in a hostile Rome. Fearing for her life and her son's future, she fled back to Egypt, where she faced a new struggle to secure her dynasty. The balance of power had shifted once again. Without Caesar, Rome descended into chaos, and Cleopatra found herself drawn into the deadly rivalry between Caesar's heirs, Mark Antony and Octavian. Chapter 8: A new alliance with Antony. In the aftermath of Caesar's death, Cleopatra turned her gaze toward Mark Antony, one of Rome's most powerful generals and Caesar's loyal supporter. Their meeting in Tarsus was legendary. Cleopatra sailed up the Cydnus River in a golden barge, dressed as the goddess Isis, mesmerizing Antony with her splendor. Their bond was instantaneous, blending passion with politics. Antony needed Egypt's wealth to fund his campaigns, while Cleopatra sought protection for her throne and Caesarion's claim as Caesar's son. Together, they dreamed of forging an empire that could rival Rome itself. But their union enraged Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, who viewed Cleopatra as a threat to his control. The stage was set for a confrontation that would decide the fate of the ancient world. Chapter 9: The Growing Divide. As Antony and Cleopatra strengthened their alliance, Octavian launched a propaganda war against them. He painted Cleopatra as a foreign temptress, manipulating Antony to betray Rome. Statues, speeches, and rumors portrayed the Egyptian queen as a seductress, plotting Rome's downfall. Meanwhile, Antony declared Caesarion Caesar's true heir, challenging Octavian's legitimacy. The Roman Senate, swayed by Octavian, declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra herself. It was no longer a personal rivalry, but a clash between two worlds, Rome and Egypt, republic and monarchy, ambition and survival. Cleopatra prepared her fleets and armies, knowing that defeat would mean the end of her dynasty and her son's future. The fate of two empires hung in the balance. Chapter 10: The Battle of Actium. In 31 BCE, the climactic showdown unfolded at the Battle of Actium. Antony and Cleopatra's combined forces faced Octavian's navy off the coast of Greece. Cleopatra personally commanded her fleet, standing at the helm as the clash began. But betrayal undermined their strategy. Several of Antony's allies defected to Octavian, and as the battle turned against them, Cleopatra made the fateful decision to retreat with her fleet. Antony followed, abandoning his remaining forces to defeat. Actium was more than a battle. It was the death knell of Egyptian independence. Octavian's victory marked the beginning of Rome's uncontested dominance over the Mediterranean world. Chapter 11: The Fall of Alexandria. Octavian marched on Alexandria, determined to crush Cleopatra and Antony once and for all. The once proud city braced for siege as Roman legions surrounded its walls. Cleopatra retreated to her mausoleum, preparing for the inevitable. Antony, defeated and abandoned, fell on his sword when falsely told Cleopatra was dead. Mortally wounded, he was brought to her side, where he died in her arms. A tragic end to their grand ambitions. Octavian entered Alexandria victorious, but Cleopatra refused to be paraded as a trophy in Rome. Her fate, like Egypt's, rested in her own hands. Chapter 12. Cleopatra's Last Stand. Cleopatra attempted to negotiate with Octavian, hoping to secure Caesarion's future. But Octavian had other plans. He intended to bring her to Rome in chains, a symbol of Egypt's submission. Realizing her dreams were shattered, Cleopatra chose to die on her own terms. According to legend, she allowed a venomous asp to bite her, ending her life in a final act of defiance. Beside her lay treasures of Egypt and symbols of her lost empire. With Cleopatra's death, Egypt fell under Roman control, marking the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the dawn of a new era. The Nile's jewel was now a province of Rome. Chapter 13. Caesarion's fate before her death. Cleopatra sent Caesarion away, hoping to protect him from Octavian's wrath. But her efforts were in vain. Octavian, fearing any challenge to his rule, ordered the boy's capture and execution. With Caesarion's death, Cleopatra's bloodline was extinguished, and Egypt's sovereignty died with him. The dream of a restored pharaonic dynasty ended on the steps of Roman ambition. Yet the story of Cleopatra and Caesarion lived on, whispered among Egyptians as a tale of what might have been had Rome's grip not tightened around their land. Chapter 14. Rome's triumph. Octavian returned to Rome in glory, parading the spoils of Egypt and declaring the birth of a new era. He became Augustus, the first Roman emperor, ushering in the age of the Roman Empire. Egypt's vast wealth flowed into Roman coffers, funding Augustus's vision of imperial grandeur. The once independent kingdom became a jewel in Rome's crown, its people subjects of a distant power. Yet, even in defeat, Cleopatra's legend endured. Her defiance, intelligence, and audacity left an indelible mark on history, inspiring generations to come. Chapter 15. Legacy of a Queen. Cleopatra's life was more than a tale of romance and tragedy. It was a story of survival, ambition, and power. She was a queen who faced impossible odds, using every tool at her disposal, diplomacy, strategy, and charm, to protect her people and her throne. Her relationship with Caesar changed the ancient world, reshaping the balance between Rome and Egypt. Her alliance with Antony brought her empire to its zenith and its fall. Through it all, Cleopatra defied the expectations of her time, ruling as Egypt's last true pharaoh. Centuries later, her story still captivates us, reminding the world that history is written not only by conquerors, but also by those who dared to resist them. Cleopatra and Caesar's alliance was more than a love story. It was a collision of power, ambition, and destiny. Their choices altered the course of nations and gave rise to legends that still echo today. If you found this journey into history fascinating, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications for more epic tales from the past. The ancient world is full of secrets, and we're here to uncover them all.